if anybody was really expecting. But now the Man United hierarchy have reached out to Thomas Tuchel to start conversations. It's stated that it's not at a, according to German sources, not at a hot stage yet, which means not close. But Tuchel appears to be a target for Man United. What's your thoughts on that, Dan? You know, a Champions League winning, title-winning manager to start the Man United rebuild off. Would that be better than some of the other names that have been linked to the club in the last week or so, the likes of McKenna and Thomas Frank?
Yeah, I think, look, if you are going to go for a manager and you do want to try and be competitive as quick as possible, then, yeah, Tuchel is your guy. Like I said, there is massive risk on the likes of McKenna and Thomas Frank. Huge risk. So there's always risk with any manager, but it's a much smaller risk. He's got that Premier League experience. He's won the Champions League, got to Champions League semi-final recently. But I hear, you know, it's not the most exciting appointment, I guess, in terms of style of play. I mean, he's no David Moyes, but you know, I heard a lot from Man United fans, including yourself, that you know you wanted to see an attack in football next season. You want to see something really positive, but I don't know if that's Tuchel. You know, if you're going to get that, but you will get, I think, a quality manager who's tactically, I think, sound, although he did make a mistake against one of the best teams in world football. Yeah, I think that's probably that's the safe option. It's not the exciting project long-term option, but it's a safe option that he can come in with credentials. The players that are there can't look at him and go, well, what have you done in football? He can throw his medal on the table. So, yeah, I like I said, I think it's a bit safe, though. So it's just go for it. Hopefully, for you guys, he can win you something, get you up there early on in the season and build on there. But, yeah, it's an interesting one.
How about yourself, Dio? Because there appears to be, when it comes to Man United, every manager we're linked to, it kind of either gets laughed at or is played down as not a good appointment. Whether it be McKenna, whether it be Frank, whether it be Potter, whether it's De Zerbi, now whether it's Tuchel, whatever Man United seem to do, there's a huge noise online that it's a bad move. Do you think Tuchel would be the right step for United?
Tuchel is a good coach, but I don't think he's the right step personally. And I'll tell you why. Every club he's been to, he's had problem with management. He's always had that record. The only time he didn't really have any major problem with any management was when it was Abramovich that owned the club. That's one-on-one. You're with the boss. You're the guy. You can do your thing. Boom, bam, you know. But once you have proper people running the football club, or even people who don't know how to run a football club, like the likes of the Chelsea owners, he had a problem with them. He's gone to Bayern, where they have people who know how to run the club. He's having a problem with them. It's literally everywhere he's been to, and since Manchester United is at a rebuilding phase, I don't think they need that kind of coach that will come in for 1 year, win them a couple of trophies, maybe in knockout tournaments, and then throw everything up in the air again, you know, and then be out of there. And I think the other managers that you're linked to, the reason why people keep on saying, no, they're not good enough, or they're not a rebuilding manager, is because people are still looking at Manchester United through the lens of how big they are as a club. So it's like, De Zerbi is not good enough for us because we're this big, or, you know, Potter is not good enough because we're this big. But we have to realize the club has been in the mud for a little bit, and they need somebody who's going to come in there, get the work done, just like what Newcastle started to do with Eddie Howe, rebuilding the entire thing from scratch, just like what Arteta has done in the last 3-4 years, rebuilding from scratch. That's what they need to get. They don't need let me get you a trophy right now and then throw everything up. Eric Ten Hag is an example. He got you a Carabao Cup, he got you third place, and then following year, boom, look at us. Look at what we're talking about right now. So you bring a Tuchel in, he comes in, he wins an FA Cup, or he wins you know, whatever tournament, but doesn't win the league, leaves you in 8th position, and then out he goes again because he and the management, and you know, so he's a good coach. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying for where you're at and where you want to go, that you need somebody who's going to come in and got the entire fish from the inside, clean everything out, fillet it, make it nice, you know, and then make that sushi.
Well, do you know what? I understand the challenge around Tuchel. My biggest concern with him is the fallouts he's had at clubs. But then when you say that, you get his supporters that say, well, Terry, actually, his biggest bugbear is that he doesn't want to manage a football club. He wants to be a head coach, which is what Man United are looking for. He doesn't want to be too heavily involved in transfers, etc. But he does want a club to buy the right type of players for his brand of football. So if we bring him in, then his sort of style has to be what not only we look to do in the first 2, 3, 4 years, but it's what we look to do beyond him. This, like, I look at Arsenal's situation or City's or Liverpool's. If they built the entire club in the image of one particular manager that can't be replicated if they leave, even if it yields results, it's still short-termism. It means every time a manager leaves, you are essentially at the risk of needing a rebuild, which could take you 2 or 3 or 4 years to start competing again if it goes wrong. And I don't believe that any of your clubs are doing that. If Arteta left tomorrow for any particular reason, I don't think you guys would have to start again. You'd bring in a manager that has similarities, and I think you would continue in that sort of process. So I'm not. If Tuchel really wants that, and we sit down and come to an agreement that you're going to coach the team, this is the brand of football. It's a close match to yours. This is how we want to play. These are the types of profiles we're going to sign, and they all agree on it ahead of time. Then I feel as though it can work. He had 1 full season in the Premier League, and I looked at the numbers behind that earlier on today, and I compared it to this season's Arsenal, who many say aren't going to win the league, but have been one of the best footballing teams in the league. Goals, Arsenal scored more. They scored 89. That Chelsea team scored 76. Not a huge difference. Chances created, Arsenal's was higher at just over 400, where Chelsea's was at 388. Chelsea, though, completed 3,000 more passes. Better passing accuracy, better aerial duels, better ground duels. Clean sheets, Arsenal got 18. Chelsea that season got 16. So when you look at some of the underlying metrics under that 1 full season he had, and again, the back end of that season was with the sanctions and all the problems that were going on, it wasn't bad. He just came into Chelsea at a poor time, and equally at Bayern Munich. They got rid of Nagelsmann. The people that did it then got fired. They begged for Nagelsmann to come back because they know they made a mistake, which undermines him. Bayern Munich have actually gone through a sort of 2-3 year period where they've made so many mistakes at board level, and I think Tuchel just happens to kind of be part of that. I don't look at Tuchel and the Bayern situation right now as strictly his fault when you think of what they've done prior. So I definitely hear the complaints and worries about him, but at the same time, I trust the people that are making the decisions at my club. I look at their CVs, I look at their track records, and if they're going for this manager, there's a reason as to why. There's a reason as to why he is fundamentally important to the growth of our team. So again, whether it's Tuchel, whether it's Thomas Frank, whether it's Southgate, I'm not going to do cartwheels, and I'm not going to go crazy. Either of them, I'm not going to do cartwheels. I'm not going to do.
Tuchel seems to always end up at clubs where there's always like new management in there and a rebuild. Look,
no, and I agree. But Chelsea's situation is different when Tuchel.
I know, but Bayern as well. Same thing with Bayern.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And now, Man U.
Let me explain though. Chelsea, when he was falling out with them, it was when the hedge funders and the bankers were telling him what they were going to do. It was before they brought the people in that had more football in minds. But Bayern Munich, yes, it's unfortunate that he's gone there, but the mistakes they've made at board level are nothing to do with Tuchel. They should never have got rid of Nagelsmann. They're now struggling to get anybody to commit to them for one reason or another. Then they've asked him to stay, and he's like, you know why he said no. He's essentially gone, you're only asking me now because you failed to find a replacement. The fans have done petitions wanting Tuchel to stay. They have been overall relatively happy with him. The fans have actually, like a lot of the fans, the German-based fans, not all the international fans, but the fans in Germany have put together protests to say, hang on a minute, petitions to say you should keep this man. So I'm not someone that's going to, there are negatives about him, and there are negatives about most managers in the world, barring Klopp and Pep Guardiola right now. You can find the question mark over everybody. But at the same time, like I say, I trust the football decision makers at Man United. And if he is deemed to be the guy for a period of time, I will get behind it, and I will wait for it to marinate, and I will wait for it to wait to see the fruits of its labor, essentially, because, you know, we're in such a, most Man United fans, barring the individuals that are old enough to remember being relegated and coming back up, or that remember the start of the Fergie era, we haven't been in this situation for 40 plus years, where the club is absolutely on its arse. The club is in absolute turmoil, and it needs to be built from the ground up. Everything needs to be gutted out. But what I like about what we're being told, it's the new board members who are going to be gutting it out, What we want a manager to do is help to maintain the standards and help to push the ethos. But that ethos has got to come from that boardroom. That's the heart of the football club, essentially, your football decision makers. The old-fashioned managers are now your sporting directors. That is how football works in this modern day age. So for me, I'm not doing cartwheels for any manager. Equally, I'm not going to panic and throw my toys out the pram. I'm going to stay very calm on this subject matter because the people making these decisions are some of the best in the business, and I'm going to trust them.
I think the problem is because you said, Terry, that you trust me. You think they're, making the decision on Tuchel for a reason. I think the reason is that he's just the best manager available. And when we've talked about this and we agree on the same things about, choosing a style of play, having a manager that fits that long term, and then just swapping the manager out when you need to, getting someone else that fits that. Now, when I'm seeing so many parallels between what we've done, getting Lopetegui, we was linked with Amorim, then we get Lopetegui, and I'm like, well, what's the vision? Same way here. You're going from Southgate, McKenna, Tuchel, so many different philosophies and styles of play. So is it you're just going to pick the first manager, then that's how we're going to play before that? Or have you actually decided how you want to play and now you'll find a manager? I just think Tuchel's available, best manager, biggest credentials. Let's get him, and it's you'd be, as a club, it's tempting not to do that. And I'm not saying that's a terrible decision, but I think it kind of goes against that long-term vision of this is.
So I do disagree in the sense of I don't think that's why we're looking at Tuchel. I actually think the club, whoever we go with, it's for a longer-term vision for Man United. That manager we pick may not be part of those long-term views, but I believe it's part of a long-term strategy for the football club. I truly believe, listening to what they've said, look at the briefings that are coming out, and the individuals and where they're coming from. If you look at what Dan Ashworth did with England. Now, I know England haven't won a major trophy as of right now. He's no longer involved in it, by the way. But we all saw England absolutely dying on its arse a decade ago. Ashworth got involved, and not only with St. George's Park, but the development, the technical ability now of young English players is so different to what I know you and I grew up on, Dan. Dan Ashworth is part of that. The way we're operating as sort of Club England is part of him. If you look at Borada and the people he's worked with and the way that City have set up, he has been influential, not the key man, but he's been influential in the way they operate and the way they set up. You look at the CVs of these individuals, they very rarely make snapshot decisions that improve things just for the short term. Everything is typically done with a longer term view. Even if they view it as we need someone with more experience for the first couple of years while we get the squad fixed, and then we're going to start to move. That may be the strategy they go with. I don't look at it as the way Ed Woodward worked, where it was, right, who can I sign that will appease the fans for a short period of time? We can throw loads of money at it and hope that we yield a few trophies. But once that manager leaves, I have no idea what we're going to do after that. I do believe there'll be a legitimate strategy in place this time around. But I do get how it looks.
How different they are, the managers.
Lawless, if you think about it from this perspective, you're right. You said he's the best manager available right now. And I think, like I said, personally, I just think that he will have issues with management. But if you're looking at the style of play, right, because they now have people who know how to run a football club, running the club, they will take care of the back room, take care of the admin, take care of all of that scouting, getting him the players that he needs, and he can implement a style. So even if he leaves, the club is now properly run with a style of football, and they can bring in any other manager to fill in that slot because Tuchel has a style, right? So it doesn't. So I think for United, it's a case of even if we bring in Potter, right? Potter has a style. His style might not be where we want to be, but for the short term, he can implement that style and we can grow from there. Or if we can get Tuchel, who's the best, who can implement an elite style, right? Which is what we're looking at. And he's here for 2 seasons and he leaves, but we are running the club properly. Now we have a good scouting system. We can bring in any other manager to fit into that role and then run the club. I think that's what they're probably thinking.
Why isn't that list of coaches / managers all of a similar profile? That's what I'm questioning.
Because look at the manager market right now. You can't find managers that are similar. Like how many of them out there are similar?
I think they are. I think they are though. And we may not have even decided yet on what we want to do as a club. That's plausible. When I look at Thomas Frank and Thomas Tuchel, I see similarities in what they do. Tuchel's just been more successful. When I look at the names like Potter and Almiron and McKenna, who are on the list, I see similarities in terms of what they do. So I think there's an element here of the club also being smart and interviewing for the job. This is what we're trying to do. And sometimes you have to hear from the people in front of you to help you decide on the direction that you want to go in. You know, I think that element is also really, really key. So, yeah, as I say, it's a really interesting super chat here.